Think about it like this. This is one of the things President Barack Obama taught me at the University of Chicago Law School as a student in his constitutional law class. Every ideal that distinguishes our country, every major tenet of our democracy, our legal system, our constitution, the right to a fair trial, the right to vote, the right to free speech, labor rights, all of those wonderful principles came out of or were perfected by the African American struggle. He taught me that. So think about that. We've always had to push and prod America towards its promise, towards its greatness. And America has fallen way short of its ideal, its promise, when it comes to economic equality and justice for Black people. It's time for us to push, prod, and provoke America again so that Black-owned businesses can be successful, so that the Black community can create wealth, jobs, role models, hope, and pride, and have the entrepreneurial capacity it had before and needs again. That's the America I want. I want my little girls to know that not only can they buy from Sears, that was the 50s and 60s, or work at Sears. We've gotten a lot better there. We fought for that. My children need to know that they can own Sears. So maybe it's time that we fight for that too. We have to unite, all of us, for an America where the Black neighborhood is not the only place where all the ethnic groups and majority enterprises can set up shop, find great success, and achieve the American dream. You know, an America where there's some reciprocity for that. An America with all kinds of people shopping at a retailer or grocery store, started by a Black family, supporting our franchises, depending on our industries and professionals, banking with us, staying in our hotels, depending on our industries and markets, just like we do everyone else. An America where it's not a ridiculous notion to a Black child that someone like him or her can own a grocery chain or a drugstore, that the toaster his mama buys at Walmart was possibly made by a Black family company. I'm fighting for that America, and I've been pushing and provoking and prodding and poking at the racist systems and structures and stereotypes that keep us from that America for well over 10 years now. I push back, I fight back by buying Black. Yes, it's me. I'm Maggie Anderson. I'm that woman you saw on the news or heard on the radio or saw online or at some convention, you know, teaching and preaching, buying Black. That's me. It's my honor. I've been called the Rosa Parks of Black businesses, of economic justice, because I took a stand in honor of Black entrepreneurs and businesses. I took a stand in honor of the raided, exploited Black neighborhoods. I took a stand. I made a public pledge, along with my husband and our then 2 baby girls, to completely live off the businesses, professionals, and products of my Black community for an entire year. You know our stand and sacrifice dominated headlines, front pages of the Washington Post, LA Times, New York Times, Chicago Tribune, major segments on CNN, C-SPAN, CBS News, ABC News, MSNBC, Fox News, BET News, Tom Joyner, Black Enterprise, Essence, countless TV and radio shows, newspapers, and magazines. We touched millions all over the world. Then I wrote my book, Our Black Year, which is a tribute to our Black business history and a detailed account of our stand. Kellogg at Northwestern University completed a landmark study based on my family's journey and the receipts and data we collected that year. My family made history, the first ever real-life case study in self-help economics, and we generated the most media attention ever on the plight of Black-owned businesses and on our country's still very racially divided economy. Here are a few more highlights. We spent or otherwise invested $94,000 that year with Black-owned businesses that we would not have otherwise. Over 90% of our spending went directly into poor, Black, underserved areas. We went without. We were disappointed by the numbers of markets and industries where African Americans still suffer from a complete lack of representation. We were disheartened by our own people's lack of pride and solidarity. We were sad. Our hearts ached seeing up close what my people, Black people, have to go through in these retail and food deserts where they can't get a fresh piece of fish or a banana, forced to settle for inferior goods and services and extortionate prices and enduring disrespect from shop owners who won't live in the community, won't hardly hire from the community, but use the community's money, poor Black people's money, to send their kids to college. It was hurtful and fearful being called a racist, a Nazi, or the other N word, getting death threats and hate mail. It still hurts my heart when I think about what I put my baby girls through. They were begging me, Mama, for fruit, for toys. They were going to school with the shoes too tight, belly poking out of their shirts, and coming home crying because they were teased. All because it took me 5 months to find one Black-owned shop that offered toddler clothing and shoes. I made my children eat gas station food like old bologna and over-sugared cereal for dinner because the one Black-owned grocery store we could find closed 5 months before we finished our year. As a matter of fact, all of those businesses we sought and supported, that we loved and lived off of, the ones you read about in our book, they're gone. And 2 months after we finished our historic stand, I lost my mother. She died in my arms, losing a hard-fought battle with pancreatic cancer. My immigrant mother, a Cuban farm girl who never made it to high school, but was the wisest person I'll ever know. She taught me that our being from Cuba didn't make us not Black or less Black. Mima taught me that just meant my Black ancestors got dropped off a little earlier. While my ancestors were shucking sugarcane in Cuba for racist Spaniard oppressors, my brothers and sisters here were picking cotton for racist British oppressors. That was my Mima. She taught me that. She was sick our whole year, and I knew that she suffered longer than she would have just to live long enough to see her daughter, her only American-born child, live out this important pledge to our community and our country. Yes, we lost a lot that year, but we learned a lot too. And that's really significant because before that year, John and I thought we had it all and we knew it all. My husband, John, is from Detroit. He went to Harvard for undergrad. Then he got his MBA in economics and finance from Northwestern's Kellogg Business School. He's a financial advisor. So he devotes his life to building prosperity for our people professionally and personally. That's my husband. I grew up in Miami, a Black area of Miami called Liberty City. I went to Atlanta for college at Emory University. While there, I worked as an aide to our recently passed on civil rights hero, Congressman John Lewis. And then after Atlanta, I headed north to Chicago, like John did. But I went to the University of Chicago for my MBA and my law degree, where I learned constitutional law, among many other things, from one then Professor Barack Obama, the 44th President of the United States of America. And we fell in love while we were both in graduate school. Now that's John and I, not the President and I. We found great big jobs at big companies, bought a big house in a pricey suburb, and had our own 2 beautiful little girls, and we're basically living out our fancy fairy tale life. But we supported our community, well, sort of. And it wasn't like we were doing anything. We were active in the youth ministry at the Black church. John was a mentor with 100 Black men. We voted Black. We got mad when Black people got shot or dogged out in the news. We got happy when black people were nominated for awards or the black coach made it to the Super Bowl. We were black. We were real black, just not buying black. But everything else, very, very black. Well, black-ish. Y'all know what I mean. We donated to the UNCF. Wasn't that enough? Philanthropy is commendable, but it must not cause the philanthropist to overlook the circumstances of economic injustice which make philanthropy necessary. Dr. King said that. So what are those circumstances of economic injustice, and what are we supposed to do about them? In the Asian American communities, a dollar circulates among the banks and retailers and professionals for about 28 days before it goes outside. Our Jewish American friends, they keep their dollar for about 19 to 21 days. That's their circulation period. And that's why those groups have the lowest unemployment and incarceration rates. And that's why they have the highest household incomes and educational achievement. In the black community, our community, the dollar lives for 6 hours. So what could one couple do about that? We didn't know, but we did know some other facts. That before integration, during Dr. King's young life, when we had the locally owned businesses, our dollar circulated within the community for years in places like Birmingham. And we had many Black Wall Streets. We had schools and churches and banks, insurance companies, grocery stores, hotel chains, drugstores, department stores, hardware stores, daycares, hospital systems, entire farming regions, stock brokerages, all kinds of shops and professionals thrived, all black owned. This is what young Dr. King saw growing up. This is what gave him the reason and the resources to fight. Hundreds of millions created and recycled. These businesses enabled the creation of our educational and rights and civic organizations. They funded the civil rights movement. Who do you think bailed our people out of jail? The businesses funded our freedom. And because of them, unemployment was at the same level or lower than that of whites nationally from 1880 all the way through 1940. Lower because black people employed each other in self-sustained, vibrant neighborhoods in Tulsa and Durham and Tampa and Jacksonville, in Louisville's Russell neighborhood, in Sistrunk Boulevard in Fort Lauderdale, in Harlem, Auburn Avenue, in Atlanta, Bronzeville, in Chicago, Birmingham, and so many more places. The black businesses always financed our fight. They always fanned our fire. And now we cannot have a movement for change, for progress, for protest, for power without strong, successful banks, businesses, and professionals. Dr. King knew that. He lived that. And those who opposed Dr. King and integration and equality, they knew that too. Over 90% of the lynchings of black people that happened during Reconstruction and Jim Crow were of business owners. Economic terrorism. And when Black Wall Street in Tulsa was bombed, then burned, racist crowds watched. They called them Negro barbecues. Don't forget that. Don't forget them. Don't forget about the fact that Dr. King, on the day before he was slain, called for us to unite and fight back economically. In his famous mountaintop speech that he delivered the day before he was murdered, the day he led the protests in honor of the sanitation workers, King pivoted in his rhetoric. He spoke of our collective buying power, he said, and urged an economic withdrawal from businesses on the record for discriminating against black workers or mistreating black customers. But not just that. Dr. King specifically fought for black-owned businesses in that speech, not just for the right to go to segregated or work at segregated white-owned businesses. Dr. King wasn't just fighting for basic rights. He said, we've got to strengthen black institutions. I call upon you to take your money out of those banks downtown and deposit your money into Tri-State Bank. We want a bank-in movement in Memphis. We're just telling you to follow what we're doing. We, meaning the SCLC, put your money there. King said that. Dr. King didn't just fight for basic human rights, the right to drink water where we want, the right to eat where we want, or live what we want, where we want. He died for the right for Black people to build and spend where we want to. He asked us to support these banks and businesses, and we did not. Instead, in those 2 decades after Dr. King's murder, it became fashionable to abandon those Black banks and businesses, to show and prove how equal we are as Black Americans, that we were good enough to buy products and shop at stores and spend and otherwise invest in businesses once denied to us. In the 1930s, grocery stores represented the largest category of Black-owned businesses. That's true. We had 6,400 grocery stores. At the beginning of the 21st century, there were only 19 Black-owned grocery stores in the United States. And when those researchers at Kellogg did the famous study based on my family stand and experiment, they could only find evidence of 8 to 12 full-service grocery stores owned by Black firms in the United States of America, even while we had a Black president. That's terrible for Black people and America. In North Philadelphia, a predominantly Black area where there are 90% of the businesses there are not locally or Black owned. Black businesses with Black beauty supply stores with 100% Black clientele, less than 3% of those places across America are Black owned. In those same couple of decades after we failed King, we lost 85% of our 120 Black owned banks. They disappeared. The bank Jackie Robinson built so that Black families can get mortgages and Black entrepreneurs can get business loans, Freedom National Bank, is gone. We celebrate Jackie. We celebrate King when we talk about great American racial progress, but the banks they built and fought for, the banks that helped them make that progress, those banks are dead. And it's not just the banks. It's not just those grocery stores and beauty supply stores. We lost Black hair care too. The one industry birthed by the Black community, belonging to us, sustaining us, helping us, especially Black women, thrive and achieve the American dream. We lost Black hair care. In 1986, again, less than 2 decades after King died, Irving J. Botner, CEO of Revlon, when asked about competition from Black-owned firms in the Black hair care industry, told Newsweek, in the next couple of years, those Black-owned businesses will disappear. They'll all be sold to white companies. And he was right. He was right. We made him right. Spoken Wade, Carol's Daughter, Let's Jam, Carefree Curl, Strength of Nature, Cream of Nature, Dark and Lovely, Smooth and Shine, Dark and Natural, Stay Soft Fro. All of those are owned by L'Oreal, a French company owned by Liliane Bettencourt, who died in 2017 as the world's richest woman. I wonder how she got that way. By 2000, L'Oreal owned all of the biggest successful Black hair care companies. And a couple of years ago, Unilever put the nail in the coffin when they bought Nubian brands. That's all the Shea Moisture products. All these brands and companies are no longer Black owned. All those jobs, those businesses, those dreams, all those billions and billions in Black intergenerational wealth and entrepreneurship, gone. Why? And now, Black businesses, families, communities, we have nothing to show for. No real power in the booming Black hair care industry. That's what Botner wanted. That's what he predicted. That's what he promised and planned for, and it came true. Even our own Langston Hughes prophesied about our imminent demise, about what would happen to us if we did not begin to economically unite. He wrote this: "The tallest tower can tumble down if it not be rooted in solid ground. So being a far-seeing and practical man, he said, train your head, your heart, and your hand. Your fate is here and not afar. So let down your bucket where you are." your money there, Dr. King said. Let down your bucket, Langston Hughes said. Put your money there. Let down your bucket. So I'm pouring into my bucket. My coffee, my pizza, my alarm system at my house, my dry cleaners, my pediatrician, my dentist, my neurologist, my optometrist, my reading glasses, John's glasses, my popcorn, my nightclubs, John's dress shirts, his ties, his cufflinks, all my makeup, my perfume, my hair products, the restaurants, my designer purses and shoes. What else? My mortgage, all black owned, all top quality. John's shaving cream, the soap I use on my face, black soap. And I didn't buy the soap because it's black. I buy it because the company that makes the soap is black owned and they reinvest in our community. But it is cool to say I use black soap. It's wonderful to wake up knowing I'm putting my money into mine. This is how I live my life. And it's not that hard. And it's not too late for you. I'm not some depressed, overworked activist because I have to look for black firms. Once I let my bucket down, it's not as hard as you think. And it's not nearly as hard as the situation is dire. And here's the ticker. You ready? Here's the ticker. I'm still fly. I'm still fly because I buy black. My makeup is on point today. I look good. Black owned. Lamique Cosmetics, owned by Sister Kim Roxy. Her business is in Houston, and she gives some disillusioned girls there a business to dream of and believe in, while so many think that all they got in that part of town is bullets to dodge. This is how I live my life. I'm fly, and my money is still safe, FDIC insured in a black bank. I have money in other banks too. But when I think about the fact that King was killed asking me to put my money in a black-owned bank, I let my bucket down and I find a way to put some of my money in a black-owned bank. That's not that hard. It's not too late. It's never too late for justice. I want justice. And I'm not asking Walmart or Gucci for it. I'm not begging the government for it. I'm not holding my breath either for President Trump to deliver it. Now, don't get me wrong. Those big brands, corporate America, those designers, they owe us. With our talent and our buying power, we've grown and glorified the biggest brands, designers, and retailers. The government owes us too. With our blood and our brilliance, we built this country. We fought for this country, delivered its economic foundation, and have no equity, no return from all of that. They owe us. And I think it's about time they pay up. But what about me? And what about you? I owe us too. I owe my people, my community, my culture, my ancestors, owe my love, my faith, my solidarity, my unconditional support, my on-call, on-demand, ride or die back. I owe my people all of that, and you do too. So I do use my strength for my community every day. I owe them every day, and not just with my words, my spirit, my tears. I pay up every day with my spend. I fight back by blind black. I'll tell you, this is how we do it. We use our smarts, we tell the truth, we spend strong, and we ask some questions. Let's ask Hennessy. I did, and they won't tell. Not even the Wall Street Journal, how much money they make off black consumers. But I got just as much up here as I do in here. So I did my own research, and I learned that at least 60% of their U.S. revenues come from the black community. Wall Street Journal followed up my research, and their estimates put it at above 80%. 80%. So with this company wholly dependent on our market to survive, do you know they don't even have a supplier diversity program? Meaning they don't even have a mission statement or the fake black-white handshake on the website, try to fool somebody, much less a corporate practice to use black suppliers, distributors, and black press and vendors. They might throw a party at some of our big conventions. They might donate $5,000, $10,000 here, but they're not doing business with us. With that kind of money, there should be Hennessy hospitals in Harlem. There should be a new chemistry lab at every HBCU. And Hennessy should have funded the empowerment experiment, Black economic development, economic justice, and entrepreneurship center. And I should be teaching at it. Seriously, y'all, though, 80% or more of its revenues, Hennessy should have large accounts at several Black banks. There should be at least a dozen major Black Hennessy distributors. There should be significant advertising in Black-owned media. Is that crazy? Am I crazy for saying that? Am I being unreasonable? Am I a radical now? Because that's what they call me. Am I asking too much? Did King ask too much when he asked us to support Black-owned banks and businesses? Did Langston ask too much when he asked us to let our bucket down? Am I wasting my time today? Because Hennessy is thriving while their communities, their consumers' communities, are under attack, falling apart. But no one asks about that. No one talks about that. No one talks about Hennessy and the connection it has to its community. And because we don't talk, we don't talk about it, we don't ask, we don't take the next step and let our bucket down for Heritage Link Brands, a wonderful Black-owned wine importer with several Black-made brands available in mass retailers all over the country. Husband and wife, Harvard MBAs, Corey and Selena Cuff, founded Heritage Link Brands in 2005 when they learned that South Africa maintains a $5 billion wine industry and less than 2% of that is owned by Blacks, who represent 90% of the population. So now, Heritage, my wine company, is the largest company in the wine industry to trade and market Africa's Black-produced wines. One of those wines is House of Mandela, led by the women of the Mandela family, Makaziwe and Tukwini, respectively the daughter and granddaughter of Nelson Mandela. Together, Heritage, House of Mandela, and people like me who buy that wine, we create jobs for Black people in South Africa and America. One of my favorite Heritage Link Brands wines is called Bukatrabe. Bukatrabe. I love Bukatrabe. I drink a lot of Bukatrabe. A lot. Because ain't nothing Maggie Anderson won't do for the movement. So if I have to drink that wine for my people, I'll drink that wine. I don't do it for me. I do it for the movement, for King, for Selena, for Africa. Now, I'm not sure I can get you to march. I'm not sure I can get you to change your life today, but can I get somebody out there to drink some Bukatrabe with me? Come on, y'all. Kellogg Business School conducted that landmark study based on our stand and our experiment. Kellogg showed that out of our over $1.2 trillion in buying power, about 2 to 3% of that goes back to us with our Black businesses. That's awful. But in the study, we also showed that if middle-class Black consumers, those of us with a little money to spend, with a little wherewithal, if we were just to get that pathetic 2 to 3% to just 10%, we could create 1 million new jobs in America. Our research shows that our businesses are so under-supported that this small boost in support would have a geometric impact. New jobs from the money we already have and currently spend, just 10% going to the quality businesses we already have and currently neglect. No government program, no corporate donation. Now, who is stopping us from doing this, from making small investments and changes like this, from letting our bucket down, from at least buying our hair care products from Black families? Come on! Can you do that? Our times are pushing us in a way reminiscent of the 50s and 60s. You ready to fight like they fought back then? Are you ready to buy like they bought back then? Huh? So are you ready? Are you going to go back to that Black business you went to a couple of years ago? The one where you might not have received great service? You gave Trump a try. Can a brother or sister get a second chance? Are you ready? Are you ready to make these small changes in your life? Because we have to make Black lives matter. Not wait for Black lives to matter. As long as most of our children can go most of their lives never seeing a successful Black business owner who's not a drug dealer or a gangbanger, Black lives won't matter. As long as it's okay for poor Black people, hard-earned money to get raided every day as outsiders come in, unlock the padlock, lift up that steel gate, open those barred up doors and take poor Black people's money through slits from under bulletproof glass and then leave and put that padlock back on and then take that money to their neighborhoods and their enclaves and use that money to build up their banks and businesses and tax bases and school systems and buy their homes and dream vacations and contribute to their causes and their candidates. As long as that continues to happen with poor Black people's money every day, Black lives won't matter. As long as most of us have never even seen a Black-owned grocery store or a Black-owned beauty supply store, as long as many major American and European brands, designers, and retailers thrive off of the Black consumer dollar, make billions every year in revenue that will never give back to the Black community, and Black people and our allies have heretofore done nothing about that singular important issue, Black lives don't matter. As long as we cannot even control and prosper from the success of the very industries and products we created from and for our culture, like our hair care, Black lives don't matter. As long as Black people keep fighting racism with their protest, but then enabling racism with their purchases, Black lives won't matter. But I know if we unite now and put to practice our faith, our smarts, and our solidarity, we can make Black lives matter. I believe that. Do you, brothers and sisters? I wasn't sure I would do this, but I need y'all to know why this is so real to me. Let me give you this one last testimony, and then I'm done. 5 years ago, my friend Eugene Mitchell, he was an executive at New York Life, committed to help me spread my message. He got his company to get behind a tour so we can speak all over the country and I can push my Black businesses while pushing New York Life's Black agents. It was a great idea. Summer 2015, we announced the tour in Detroit. Over 200 Black-owned newspapers from all over the country came out for the launch. Then after that, I spoke in 3 cities back to back. 5 days later, on July 1st, I'm in baggage claim. I hadn't even got home. I got the call. I found out that I'm sick. And it turns out the doctors say I've been sick for a while, but the symptoms had only showed up right when we started this tour. Adult onset muscular dystrophy. Then suddenly, I was getting weaker and weaker, sicker and sicker so fast. It happened so fast. All of a sudden, I couldn't walk up the stairs. I couldn't drive. I couldn't pick up a carton of juice. I wondered, how will I serve now? How will I preach and teach now? And I called Eugene, my partner, my dear friend, and I told him, I can't do it. I can't do this anymore. No more tour. The empowerment experiment was closed. And then Eugene, to prove his unyielding faith in me, he asked me to speak at a big conference. My condition was worse. I could barely get out of a chair. But Eugene asked me to talk about strength when I could barely stand up myself. I was sad, I was scared, I was worried about people looking at me or pitying me. I didn't want to speak anymore. I was running 4 miles a day 6 months before, and the doctor said, just damn me to a wheelchair and likely an early death. Right when my dreams started to come true for this movement, right when my life's calling became crystal clear, right as my little babies were becoming little ladies, everything that I'd ever worked for felt like it was crumbling and crashing right in front of my face. It was the worst. I could barely stand up, but I was supposed to give a speech about taking a stand. As weak as I was, God was telling me to tell these people at this big conference, tell them how to be strong. So I did. And it was amazing. First, because of my speech, New York Life now has a Black-owned paper company. And I know you won't believe this, but that night, that speech saved my life. Seriously, stay with me. After the speech, Eugene helped me off the stage. Then everyone jumped out of their seats. I mean, the whole audience just came to me, surrounded me. They started hugging me and holding me and crying for me. All these strangers, all races, all faiths, because they saw I was sick. And I didn't look like I would make it through the year. And they didn't ignore me or overlook that to be polite. They came to me and they held me, and some even prayed over me. And right then and there, they gave me the strength I needed to continue this fight. Seriously, this is true. Ever since that night, I've been getting stronger. A few days after that, I got off my medication completely. And for those few years since, years without medication, with every city, every event, every business or group or church or school I work with, I get stronger. Every time I'm out there, every time I leave my house to go fight for economic justice, to go lift up Black-owned businesses, I get stronger. Every time. It's been happening. I've been healing now for 5 years. I was saved by the movement that night. I learned that night that sometimes we got to lift up those who need it, even when we need lifting up ourselves. I learned that night. I learned that in the movement. So now I believe, now because of what happened to me, I believe that even though there is so much death and distress these days, I still believe in this movement. I still believe in America. I know I got to push and prod America like King did, but I still believe like King did. Because I peered over the mountaintop too. And when I was able to stand up again and stand up tall, I could see over that mountaintop. And when we stand up together as women, as sisters and brothers, as believers and business owners, all races and faiths, as good people, as American patriots, telling the truth, when we lift each other up, even though we need lifting up ourselves, we can not only see over that mountaintop into the promised land, we move mountains. Do you believe that? We make our own miracles. We move mountains. We make Black Lives Matter, and we make America greater, like always. The doctor said, genetic, degenerative muscle disease. My muscles, once strong, would destroy themselves. That's what they said. But ain't that what they say about us? That we, once strong, that we will just destroy ourselves? The doctor said that I'm just supposed to wither away and rot and waste away and forget who I am and how strong I was and focus on how weak I'd become and what the disease was doing to me. The disease said, stay weak, broken, decay, and die. That's what they said. But I remember what Professor Barack told me, the idealistic Black law student, about Black people pushing America towards its promise. I remember what John Lewis taught me about getting in good trouble when I was his aide, about marching with the people even when you're afraid. So even though I thought I couldn't, that I was too sick, I marched. I was weak, but now I'm strong. I was blind, but now I see. And I have a strength, a sight that only comes from sacrifice. And every day, I use that strength. Every day, I'm wiping the sweat of Sojourner. Every day, I'm holding out the outstretched hand of Harriet. Every day, I'm bathed in the blood of Medgar. Every day, I'm marching over that bridge in Selma with you, John Lewis. Right now, with Mima's blood still pumping in my veins, even though she is no longer here, and I thought I could not do this without her. I am stronger than ever. I have more faith than ever. I have more power than ever because I've seen it. I've seen it. I see us. I see that promised land, that America I've dreamt for. When I stand up, I can see over the mountaintop into the promised land, but I have to stand up to see. So I'm not worried. I'm not fearing any man because I know that united, we always have more power than pain. Do you believe that? Do you finally believe? Have I given you enough truth? If you believe, then stand up for this. Stand up for our businesses, our neighborhoods, our culture. I promise you that if you do that, you will get the strength you need. I believe I believe. Do you? Do you believe? Do you believe that I'm strong, even though they say I'm weak? Do you believe that of yourself, that you're strong, even though they say you're weak? If you believe that of our women, that we are still strong, even though they say that we're weak. If you believe that of our businesses, that we are strong, even though they say that we are weak. If you believe you owe us, then stand up. Stand up with me. Show me. Don't tag me. Show me. I've shown you my strength. Now you show me yours. Give me some healing today. Because if they tell me I can no longer stand, if this disease comes back, I need to know that each and every one of you will keep on, will keep standing up, speaking out, keep pushing and prodding, keep lifting each other up, even when you need lifting yourselves. Keep letting your bucket down so that our tall tower will never tumble down. Thank you. I am Maggie Anderson.